Hello, my name is TuesD Chambers and I am the Ballard High School librarian, and I am so lucky today because I am sitting here working with Rebecca Wynkoop at Robert Eagle's staff. Rebecca, what are you going to show us today?
Well, we are going to talk really briefly, as brief as I can, about how you could start using Google Slides or literally how you would start using Google Slides to create interactive access points on the internet for students.
Because you've just done a video with me for about 7 minutes, all of the ways you use them, and now you're going to show us like the actual tips and tricks to make them.
Correct. Okay. Yes. Okay. So these are Google Slides. We are looking at the most recent one that I have been using with students. One of the really great things about this is once you have them created, they're pretty easy to alter. And in fact, I will give you an example of how we'll alter them in just a moment. I know that for you, TuesD, one of the things you've mentioned is frustration with how long it takes sometimes. And I want to reassure everyone that kind of once you get a few set up and you have templates for yourself, it really does a lot of that legwork up front. It minimizes the work going forward. Absolutely. And as I've worked through it, I definitely have found other ways that have helped to minimize the load of updating these. So in this particular document, we have two shelves. I like to find graphics that are eye-catching, something that's going to draw students in, the blinking lights or the little squishy poem thing, but also using a Bitmoji of myself or another teacher is, when we're working together, is something that students seem to respond well to. So what I would love to do is just start with where I would start. So the first thing that I would do is, because I have rooms already created, I would go and I'd look for the room that I wanted to use next, right? And sometimes it's just about starting with a background, but I'm going to go ahead and start with a blank slide. I'm going to totally fresh, and we're going to start there. And the first thing that you would want to do is choose your background. And so one of the easiest ways to find a background is to simply look for a background, and you can even type in the words, and I always look for free because I'm not about to steal things from people certainly without their permission. Borrowing, it would be called if we weren't stealing it. So as I look for images, I would be looking through this. You can see there's a lot that have already been pre-populated. I prefer a super blank canvas. And so what I have started to do for myself over time is create a file that I call social media pics, just because I'm using them in lots of different ways. And in my social media pics page, you can see my file right now.
Yep.
Okay. I have started anything I use in Bitmojis. I start with a Bitmoji word. So it kind of organizes it all in one section.
Smart.
And so, for example, I have a background here that is called Bitmoji background. You can see some of the different Bitmojis I've used throughout time. You'll see, for example, transparent images of bookshelves, which we use a lot in the library. Right. It's a great way to organize things. And so if I was in my document, I would go to background, I would choose an image, I would then navigate through to my social media pics or my Bitmoji file, and look for the background that I wanted. And so I'm going to just use this one. I'm going to open that, and that automatically embeds this in the back of your slide. So when you're layering images, this is really important. The bring to front or send to back is really important. So the next thing that I need to do is decide, okay, I need a bookshelf. So again, I'm going to insert at this point. That's different than background. Background actually embeds it as the last bottom layer. I'm going to insert an image, and I'm going to go back to search. But before I do that, I thought I'd show you, if I was going to search for a new item, I would, for example, I want the word transparent. because I want the books that I put on it. I don't want these weird white blocks on the outside of the image. I want a transparent image of a bookshelf, and I want it to be free and readily available. So now I can start looking for these images. And once I find one that I want, I'm going to just right click. I'm going to save image as. I'm going to choose my social media picture file. I like to keep them all in one place.
Smart.
And because I use Bitmojis just because that's the terminology. When Merrick Bodmer first started doing this, she was my first teacher, and then I know you and I worked on this quite a bit together, trying to share rooms and get things going. I would then save this in a way that helped me find it later. So now that I'm back to my document, I want to insert an image, and it's going to be from my computer, and I'm going to browse to my social media pics, and I'm going to go find a bookshelf. A Bitmoji bookshelf is what I'm looking for at this point. I'm going to drop this one in because aesthetically it seems to fit. And here's my bookshelf. I can resize it as I choose to, whatever might work, right? So now the question is, where do I grab elements to support student learning? If I'm going to do, for example, one of the things I'm going to be planning coming up is the new release of the Project Lit titles. And I want students to be able to have an interactive way to explore Project Lit titles. And so one of the first things I would do is I would go into libbyapp.com, which is the app that we teach students how to use. It's available to them through the Library Link program at Seattle Public Library. And I'm going to search for Red, White, and Whole, which is a novel written in verse that has recently been selected as a new Project Lit title. So this is how easy this is. I'm going to right click on this image. I'm going to copy this image, go back to my presentation, paste this image here, resize it so that I can stick it on my bookshelf. Step number one, right? The second step is go back, because I want them to be able to read the sample. Click on read sample. I'm going to grab and copy the URL. I'm going to go back to my document, and I've highlighted the image I want to link to. I click on link and I paste and apply that. Now there's a link embedded to this book that allows students to do that. So in addition to the book, I also, when it's available, I want to give them the audio option. And so in Libby, if I go back to my search, you can see there is indeed an audio option. I click on play sample. This is going to give me a different link. So one of the things that I do, because I have created so many rooms now, is I will borrow from other rooms. I will go back and say, oh, I liked that chair, or I want to go back and grab, for example, if I click on this one, I just want to grab the earbuds. Super easy. I know where it is. I can just click on that, right click. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to paste it. Now that same or that original link is still embedded in that, so I need to make sure I change that. But I move my earbuds on over, I go back, I grab the URL for the audio sample, and then I come back and I again highlight the item, click on the link button. I'm going to paste in the new link and apply that. So that's like the basics. How am I grabbing digital copies or digital samples, both audio and ebook, and putting them on there. In addition to that, some of kind of the tips and tricks for providing or creating an environment where students really get engaged in what's in front of them. I thought I'd go back really quickly and show you an example of one that wasn't just a page, but provided opportunities for students to choose rooms that they would go into. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. This was a lesson we did with 8th grade last year. Students get this front-facing piece. And so when I'm ready to publish this to the web, when you have all your links embedded and all your images there, you go ahead and you hop down to File and Publish to the web, right? When I click that, I get a URL. This is now a live document. So when I pop this in, this is what students would see. And this is what I can embed into my Schoology page. I can put it on our social media account. I can put it in lots of different places for students. I can email it to them directly. They all have Outlook. So now the idea here is that students are going to click on one of these images and it's going to take them to another room. And if they click on, I always use my Bitmoji as the how do you get back. Click on Mrs. Wynkoop, it takes you back. Here's a new release room. I embed things for fun. Like if you click on the lava lamp here, this is going to take them to a YouTube video about how lava lamps are created. That's one way that, like, I just encourage kids to explore. They sometimes don't actually understand, what do I mean when I say explore? And so I want to motivate them to look for other things. For example, up here, this Jenga picture of kids playing Jenga in the library, we actually linked to a pretty impressive man building on one teeny tiny piece of Jenga. So I embed beyond the books themselves. I also embed things that I think will help students or motivate students to move through this. You can also link to other things, like this was our March Book Madness last year, and I linked to the file where they could vote. So you can embed all kinds of links in here. I'm not currently accepting votes for March Book Madness 2021, but that was another piece that we built in. And then at that time, we were also looking at books by Asian American authors. So,
Rebecca, there's two things I want to ask. One, do you have a website you recommend for transparent images? Mm-hmm. And then two, do you have a way that you remove images that are not transparent?
Do you mean how do I make them transparent?
Correct.
Okay, so a couple of yes. My recommendation is that you first look for a website where you can find transparent images. The PNG Hut is one that I have used fairly extensively. I did during remote learning, I did at one point, there was like a special sale on a year's membership. And so I think I paid $20 for the year to just have unlimited access. That was at the time an absolutely incredible investment. Now I have all of those images saved and I can reuse them. So that's one thing. So everything in here is free. So and also transparent, right? So if I'm going to search for, I don't know, a car, I have no good thoughts right now. Then you browse through all of these transparent images and you could then download and save these to your file.
And so, Rebecca, if you haven't paid for this service, you can still get so many free a month, correct?
Yeah, you get two free each week. I don't remember, to be quite frank with you, but there are a certain number you can get free each day. And there was a point at which, before I brought my membership, that I was like, oh, I got to go get my 2 free ones today. And I would go get them and I would save them and use it in that way. As far as turning a transparent or a non-transparent image into a transparent image, a little more complicated. And without
maybe that's another video.
I was going to say, I actually use Canva. So Canva is a tool that's free for educators. We could do another video on that. I would need to brush up my skills to do that, but that is someplace that I went and I tinkered and was able to figure out how to create transparent images using Canva.
Okay. Well, this is amazing. So much to do right here. This is awesome. Is there anything you want to end with? Because this is pretty great as is.
I would just say that this has been kind of a game changer for me in person. It was definitely a tool that I relied heavily upon when we were doing remote learning and even hybrid learning. But as we've gotten back to in-person learning, it is still a pretty spectacular way for students to engage in the work that we're asking them to do, in expanding their horizons as readers, in trying things that they don't necessarily think they would like. And also it's a great do now. To have that link and say, spend the first 5 minutes exploring this link and giving them the opportunity to do that on their own before you start the lesson has been a really great way to start.
Oh, I like that. That's great. So many new good ideas. Thank you, Rebecca.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care. Okay, I think I've stopped recording.
Okay.
Hang on. Did I? No, I haven't.
That's a little longer.